what we want to get into is the mini series personal injury attorney marketing that's coming up. So remember, we're going to go into the details, go into the marketing. Okay. So remember what we're doing is we're doing a personal injury presentation during the lunch hour, and we're going to market it as 30 minutes so it doesn't seem too long. But I'm going to try to really keep it down to 30 minutes. We're going to move pretty fast and keep it down to 30 minutes. And it's a mini series. So it's every Thursday. Right now, I tentatively have it for 1 o'clock Eastern time. And I'll probably just keep it like that. So it works out pretty good. The only people it disrupts a little bit is the West Coast. So the East Coast is 1 o'clock. It's fine. And this is to be around lunch, right at lunch, kind of, you can make it a lunch and learn. We'll go into that also. But there's some major points and updates that to be aware of with the presentation, okay? So let me just touch on those first, and then let's go into the marketing of it. So let me do a screen share here and pull that up. Okay, so let's get this up and going. Okay, so here we go. So this is the flyer. So we already talked about, if you get a jumbo postcard, remember, the bigger the mailing piece, the better. So if you get something bigger, and if you can pay for a postcard, but you can get the larger size of a postcard where I think it goes 4 inches by 5 inches. And it's the same cost as a smaller postcard. So, and of course, if you want to go bigger, if you have a smaller list, go bigger, go to a jumbo, like a half page or a full page. That really helps. Now, if you have a small list, then you're just going to want to fill this out and personalize it. And you're just going to want to go down to Office Depot and just have them print it off on poster board thickness paper. That's all. You do want this to be somewhat thick. You could hand them, if you handed them a piece of paper, that flyer with, what is that, 20-pound copy paper, that's fine. But if it's bigger and it's more rigid, it just kind of stands out. Okay. So here's the outlay. I'm going to give this to you in a Word document so you can personalize it. Now you're not going to have to touch anything except the bottom, your name and phone number. Okay. So it says free attorney injury award training via Zoom. Okay. Now, learn how attorneys are unknowingly forced to accept unfair, bad faith, lowball offers as a direct result of untrained doctors' bad documentation and how to fix it. So we're putting we're putting into the headline, we're blaming doctors in the headline of the marketing now. So we're not just talking about unfair, bad faith. And by the way, always say unfair, bad faith. Don't just say lowball offers. That gets into the jury that could look bad against you, but it won't look bad against you if you say unfair, bad faith. See, it sounds like they're the problem, not you. So do use that word, unfair, bad faith. So if it ever goes into a deposition or trial testimony, okay? Untrained doctors, bad documentation, and how to fix it. Okay. So we're just saying right up front that they're getting lowball offers because of something they don't know. And then you go to the sub-HUD line, it says a recent study showed up to 70% of the necessary injury award documentation was not being documented by 95% of doctors, and attorneys were not aware. Now that's true. If you've done any of the sales presentations, every time I do it, there's a minimum of 7 out of 10 categories that's not being documented by the doctors. And that case evaluation we just did, it was the same thing. It was easily 70% of the documentation was just totally missing. It wasn't even done. So if you've done a educational sales presentation, you already know this to be true, that 7 out of 10 of those categories is not getting documented. So that's the recent study, whether it's you recent study from your presentation, or if you want to use mine. But that's time and time again. And sometimes it's even 8 out of 10 that's not even being done. So it's pretty bad. They just don't know it. But that's the study. Okay? Just so you know. All right. So that's the headline, sub-headline, and then it goes, the Car Injury Doctors Network is offering a free 4-part, 30-minute mini-series via Zoom. This training is strictly from the medical perspective and not taught in law school. It will show how to recognize it. Okay. Topics covered in each 30-minute Zoom live stream free training sessions. Week 1, Thursday, March 6th, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Now, if I were you and you were in Central Time, or Mountain Time, or Pacific Time, you put your appropriate time in there. So 1 o'clock, if you were Central Time, you would say 12 o'clock Central Time. 11 o'clock Mountain Time. See? Okay, you got the idea. So make it relative to your time zone. Okay, and then there's the topics. Now, these are the topics. These are real important topics. These are the topics. We're not only going to do this for promotion, but remember, we're going to record it, and we're going to put it into a sales funnel that we can use all the time for our marketing in other words, down the road, we can market it to attorneys through direct mail, all kinds of ways to market it, where they go into the funnel, the opt-in, where we capture their name and contact information, and they go into an opt-in, and it's automated. So they get, and as soon as they sign in, they'll get the first one. And then 2 days later, they'll get the second one. They won't be weekly once it goes into the website funnel. So this is going to be repurposed. And so this is why this documentation is so important. So it says the 7 minimum documentation categories that determine the strength of the case. Well, we always want to start with that. And remember, you always want to start with the end picture. Where are you going to take your audience? That's where you always start. So the top 5 financial driver documentation categories often missed by doctors. So the top 5 financial drivers and the 4 potential injury awards supported by the doctor's documentation. So that's going to be the first session. So that's it says week 1, Thursday, March 6th. Okay. So those are the categories for week 1. Week 2, the categories are March 13th. These are on Thursday. The 2 most important injury award categories, the impairment rating and the impairment indexes doctors often miss. So these are huge topics that all come together. And week 3, the documentation necessary to defend against a pre-existing injury and the low property damage argument doctors often miss. Remember, those are 2 common conscious problems they have. Remember, some of these problems are unconscious incompetence. What does that mean? It means they don't have a perceived need. They don't have an awareness of it. Well, that one is a conscious pain-based need, the pre-existing injury and the low property damage. And then you get to number 4, the 30 narrative report documentation categories doctors often missed. I'll clean that up a little bit. It says doctors often missed by doctors. I'll clean that up a little bit before I send it out. And then it says the 114 deposition or trial testimony questions that win over the jury and support the injury award. So this is going to be a very good, short, succinct, comprehensive educational sales presentation that's what it's going to be. And it's meant to be that way. So meant to be that way for future automated pre-selling. That's what this is. And then at the bottom says a free 4-week, 30-minute live Zoom training each Thursday in March, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Free handouts for the first 10 attorneys who sign up. The free handouts is just the outline. That's all it is. Okay. So I'll just give you the outline, and that's the free handout they would get. Who sign up, phone, you would put your phone number in there, and it's sponsored by you. You'd put your name in there. Okay. So that's the document. And then remember, you want to put this on, you want it on school bus yellow. So if you get these printed off, clean them up, personalize it. You want it on school bus yellow poster board, black print. Now, if there's no charge for color, and usually as soon as you add one color, the price exponentially goes up. That's why you typically never want to do color, because it's not worth the return on investment versus the color. Because the price doesn't just go up a little, it goes up fast as soon as you add one color. So typically that's why you don't add color relative to the cost and the return on investment. If you can add one color and it's no big deal, then you always want the headline, the most motivating statement in color, and in this case, red. So that's how this would play out. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. It's going to be every Thursday. You'll have the link. I'm going to create the link. Matter of fact, I'm going to create it when I get off the webinar today. Send it out. So you'll have the link. And then you're going to want to copy and paste that link and send it to all the attorneys that sign up. Okay. So let's go into the marketing part of this. And again, this is part of the Car Injury Doctors Network. So you're part of a Car Injury Doctor Network provider that's nationwide, that's been trained in not only the diagnostics and therapeutic protocol, but the documentation, narrative report, deposition, and trial testimony for personal injuries. See? Okay, so let's take a look at what are the ways to promote. Remember, there's always better ways and worse ways to promote something. And what's the worst thing you could do is not do it. That's the worst thing you can always do in marketing, is to not do it. Okay. So remember, there always seems to be a trade-off between effectiveness and personalization. Generally speaking, the more personal something is, in other words, it takes more time and energy, the more effective it is, but it's more limited because we're limited by time. That's generally speaking how marketing works in general. The more personal, the way more effective it is, the way more limiting it is, because it's personal and you have limited time. The less personal, as you do direct mail to everybody, it's the worst form of marketing there is, except not doing it at all. See? So let's go into the potential ways of marketing. So what's the best way to market this? Well, you've got your list. You should have your list. Remember, you should have your attorney list of who you're targeting and who you want to develop relationships with, referrals with. If you don't have that list, you need to get it. And that list should be A, B, and C attorneys, right? So you call the attorney office to see when you would be there, that you would like to drop off an invitation. That's the deal. Okay. That's how we start it. So this does take more time. Now you can train your marketing assistant to do all the administrative parts. That's what we do, is typically we have the administrative assistant do the administrative part of the marketing. And then I would show up. And that's how we do the marketing. I had the marketing campaign. My marketing assistant did the campaign, not me. And then every Friday, she would tell me where to go. You got a meeting with this attorney. You got a meeting with this attorney. That's how it worked. Okay. Okay. So call the office, see when they would be there. You'd like to drop off an invitation. And if you haven't met them yet, then just say you'd like to introduce yourself and drop off an invitation. Okay. Okay. Show up, hand them the invitation, read it, and ask if they would like to sign, not sing. Sign, S-I-G-N is what that should say. Sign up for the free presentation. Include a free lunch and lunch and learn for those attending. If you want to spice it up a little more, include a free lunch. And this is not just good for the attorneys, it's good for paralegals. Okay. So whoever's in that office. Okay. So remember, the paralegals are influencers, but not decision makers. So it's best if you can always do it to both. Okay. So show up, hand them the invitation, read it, and ask if they would like to sign up for the free presentation. And I'd include free lunch. Now, if you don't want to include a free lunch, don't include a free lunch. I'd include a free catered lunch, to a certain amount. Figure out, what you're willing to spend, what your budget would be, and when we talk about a free lunch, we're talking about something like Panera Bread. Excuse me, that caters it, that's real easy, that they would drop it off, all that kind of stuff. Real simple stuff. Never get complicated with free food. And they typically, if you don't know this yet, you never let them order. You always give 2 options and that's it. They have to pick A or B and that's it. And if you haven't learned that yet, and you don't do that and you offer food, you're going to have one hell of a mess on your hands. And you're going to find out real early never to do that again. Okay. So that is, so that's it. I'd call, hey, I'm Dr. So-and-so. I'd like to stop by and introduce myself. I work with personal injury. I'd like to stop by and introduce myself and give the attorney an invitation. When's a good, when is a good time to stop by tomorrow or the day after? Only take about 3 minutes. You don't want to take their time. You just want to stop by, introduce yourself, and drop off an invitation. And it's better if they're there, it's better that you talk to the attorney than drop it off to a paralegal. That's why, make that phone call to set it up. And then show up, whatever they said. Obviously, you want to try to set it up late afternoon, early evening, open your schedule up. Take part of your 4-hour lunch to do this, the chiropractic 4-hour lunch. Get their contact information, the name, phone number, and email. Okay. Send them. Okay. So let's say they go, yeah. Now remember, anytime somebody does not want to do something, and this is just true in life, you're going to win a lot more in life if you learn to do this. Then you want to read it, by the way, say, hey, this is what it is. It's a mini series. These are the topics that are being covered. So you want to read that headline, subheadline, and the topics that are being covered. Because remember, that's the red meat. That's what stirs the awareness and interest for them to go, well, yeah, I might be interested in this.
Well, information. I hear somebody talking.
Yeah.
I could say, who is it?
Yeah, personal injury.
Okay. All right. So so we got their name, phone number, etc. All right. So then we want to, what I was saying is the question you always ask. Or would you be interested in registering? So that's what it would sound like. Introduce it. This is what it's about. It's free. There's a free lunch, catered lunch included. Would you like to, for you and your staff, would you be interested in registering? That's it. Okay. They say, yeah, go and take their name, take the names of everybody that's going to attend. Make sure you know if they're a paralegal, attorney, or what their role is. Right, just write it next to their name. And then you know who they are and what their role is. And then you know how many, lunches that you're going to be responsible for. Okay. All right. So let's come on over to, the question is if they say no. No, I'm not interested. Remember, anytime somebody says no, there's always one thing you should say. Well, there's one thing you never do. You don't just turn around and walk away. You never do that. What you always do is ask them why. Say, if you don't mind me asking, and a lot of times I even say, well, I'm just curious. If you don't mind me asking, say, that lowers their defenses. I'm just curious. If you don't mind me asking, what would be the reason you would not want to? And that's the phraseology. It's phrased in what's called a negative reverse. Now, you may have heard of it when you were growing up. It's called reverse psychology. So these words are important because they pull people in versus pushing them away. How you say things can pull people in, can lower their defenses and pull them in versus you pushing them away. That's called going positive versus negative. It's always good to go negative because it lowers their defenses and pulls them in. So that's why you want to ask it in the form of a negative. What would be the reason why you would not want to register for the event? That's what that sounds like. not going to, oh, you really should. This is a good seminar. That's typical bullshit. That's going positive, and that just pushes people away. You wouldn't do that. And that's what people that aren't trained do. That's what the ignorant people do. So, and by the way, would you be interested in registering? No, I don't think so. I'm just curious, if you don't mind me asking, what would be the reason you would not want to register for this? Now, the reason you want to do that, and you're going to find out once you start doing this in life, 80% of what they say you can overcome. Now, it's real to them at that time. You know, they had the block. In other words, it's an obstacle. So it's real to them, but 80% of the time, you can overcome it. Oh, I'm not going to be here. Well, that's no problem. We can record it, and there's 4 of them, so you can meet the other ones, and I can have the recording for the one you miss. See? You can overcome like 80% of the obstacles if you just ask that question when you get a no. Okay. And let me tell you, that was just a good life lesson. That wasn't chiropractic and one personal injury. Learn to say that anytime somebody in your life says no to anything that happens. You'll start getting what you want more. Okay. Same like second contacts. So, you know, remember with advertising, you increase the effectiveness if you contact your target market 3 times. That's why you never would do something once, ever. Okay. And you increase it 50% by the second resistance. So if you just quit and never said anything the first time you did it, you're just going to lose out on a shit full of life. Okay. So send them a follow-up at least twice a week. Now, once you get them to say, yeah, you can't walk away from this, life happens. Remember, every 48 hours, motivation is decreasing 50% and shit's happening. People are, you know, life happens, man. And it happens fast. A lot of, you know, 3 days from now, you have no idea what your priorities are going to be versus what you think they are today. So you got to, this is about follow up. Remember, the studies have shown what contact has gotten the most success. First contact, second contact, third. Which follow-up contact has gotten the most success? 7 to 9. 7 to 9. So if you're not even following up 7 to 9 contacts, you're just missing on the majority of success, period. Okay, so send them a follow-up email at least twice a week with the reminder in each email, the date and topic that will be covered. And always include the Zoom link. So just remind them, hey, this is, you know, remember this Thursday these are the topics for this, you know, the date of that Thursday, whatever. Just a reminder. And that's what I say. Hey, just a reminder, this is the topic we're covering, and here's the link in case you don't have it yet. Okay. The day before the event, call to remind them. And that goes to a higher awareness. And send the reminder email the day before the event. The morning of the event, send the reminder email. 15 minutes before the event, send the reminder that the event is starting in 15 minutes. So it's like 2, 2, 2. And the closer you get to the event, the higher the frequency of the reminders, because people are busy. By the way, if you guys haven't noticed it, if you have like electronic health records where you have the option to send text reminders, I'm sure that you have already noticed a big difference in people keeping their appointments when they get text reminders versus when you weren't doing that at all, when there was no reminders at all. I like it. When I sign up for stuff and there's a text, matter of fact, I sign up to get text reminders because I know my ass is busy. So I personally like these reminders. Okay. The day before the event, call to remind them. So in other words, the closer you get to the event, you better jump on the reminders. Okay. And then 15 minutes before the event. Okay. That's the best way right there. But you can see that that's going to take time. And again, this is not a volume thing. Personal injury is not a volume game. It's a personal, deep, vertical game. It's small numbers with deep contacts, not superficial spread out. You won't get referrals with superficial being spread out with a lot of people. That's not what will happen. It's small numbers with deep contacts, deep follow-up. That's what it's about. Okay, so that's the best method right there, is showing up, calling, showing up, inviting them, handling any questions, handling any obstacles, add a little red meat to the, throw in a free lunch, that it'll be a catered lunch for those registered. That's the best way to do it. And then follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. Okay, that's numero uno. Now, if you have a bigger list, what you might want to do is divide it. You might want to go, okay, for these attorneys, I'm going to do these attorneys with showing up, these 5 or 10 attorneys, whatever. And then for these other, because I don't have time with my list, you may have a bigger list, say 50 people or 100 attorneys, something like that. Well, you're not going to have the time to do this. So what you want to do is go target a smaller percentage for the personalization, and then the rest of it could be less personal. So let's go to a less personal. So now it's not getting as effective. The most effective way is right there, is the personalization, show up invitation, explanation, and overcome obstacles with the follow-up and some red meat for them to show up. That's the best way of doing anything, anytime, period. Okay? Next best. Target one law firm and do the same as above. So instead of doing nothing, target one law firm. Say, I'd like to get this law firm under my belt. That's one way of doing it. At least, and then go over and do it with them. Watch it with them. See? That'll definitely guarantee that they watch the damn thing. You do a lunch and learn and let them know you're going to come over to watch it live also. Oh man, they're going to be watching it. You want to guarantee somebody's going to be watching it? Do that. So another method is direct mail first, then call to see if they received the invitation. Now we're getting weaker. We're getting weaker. You can direct mail and then follow up with the phone call like 4 days later, give it like 3 days, even 4 days for it to get there. And then follow up, see if they received it, let them know what's involved, and ask them if they would like to register. So that's a weaker way. It's not as personal. Send it out 4 or 5 days later, call, hey, I sent you an invitation. And remember, it's even best if they got 3 invitations to increase their awareness before you even called and said, hey, I sent you an invitation. We haven't heard from you. Are you interested? Number 1, did you receive it? Number 2, this is what it was about, because you got to tell them what's about to see if to stir their interest. Those are the topics. And would you be interested in attending and interested in registering? See, that's how that would sound. Okay, and then the worst method is to do nothing at all, or do nothing at all is the worst, but the second to the worst is just do direct mail. You can do a lot of people. It doesn't take your time, costs a little bit of money, and it doesn't even cost a lot of money because it's a postcard. But don't expect very much. Remember, average success rate in advertising is 1%. That's 1 out of 100. Good is considered 3%. That's 3 out of 100. And that's considered very good marketing, very good advertising. Well, compare 1 to 3 out of 100 versus you or me calling and saying, hey, I want to stop by and introduce myself and give you an invitation to a seminar on injury awards we're given, and then showing up. Imagine me doing that to 100 people. I'm going to have a hell of a lot more people register than 3. That's the difference the personalization makes. So you got to, it's this weight scale that you got to deal with. You go, okay, how big is my list? What's the quality of my list? You just got a lot of people. Like I got one client, she said, oh, I got 800 attorneys. I go, loser. That's a loser. There's no way in hell you can develop a personal authoritative relationship with 800 attorneys. You just lost. You just played the game to lose. See? That should have been whittled down way, way, way tighter, specifically to those attorneys who are really focusing on their backyard and have clients in their backyard. There's no way I want 800 attorneys on my damn list for one location office. Now, if I got 3, 4, 5 locations in a county, yeah, now my list could get up to a few hundred. Yes, it can. Okay. Okay, so these are some methods of advertising. All right. All right. Any questions? So this starts, you'll get the link. I'm going to send out the Word document as soon as we finish up here. So you can personalize it, go to Office Depot, whatever. I'll send out, and then you got the dates. So you just get it printed up. Either you, or if you have a marketing assistant, I would just target X amount, even if it was only 5 or 10 attorneys, and go, okay, I'd like to have 5 or 10 attorneys show up, because that's huge. You know, you get 5 or 10 attorneys to go through this program. And if they miss, we'll do the recording, and so they can follow up with the recording also. But remember, we're also going to use it for regular marketing in the future through automation. But it's going to have major categories. It's going to have the financial driver categories. It's going to have the defense categories. It's going to have the 4 injury award categories, the 7 minimum categories that determine the case. It's going to have the narrative report categories. It's going to have the trial deposition categories. It's going to be power packed. It's going to have just massive, great categories of what they need, and essentially showing them all the stuff that's being missed by doctors who aren't trained in personal injury documentation. And then there'll be then obviously there's the follow-up after the presentation. There's going to be the offer, and I'll do the offer at the end of the presentation. You know, I'll say, contact your local car injury doctor network. We'll do 2 case evaluations, blah, blah, you get the idea. And then you just need to follow up with the offer. You know, like the next day, did you get a chance to watch it? Do you want to take advantage of the offer? And I would even do it in person. Say, you're going to have a way higher success rate because you already know there's going to be some questions. Well, you want to be able to handle those questions. And it's way easier to handle the questions in person than on the phone. See, so again, there's degrees of effectiveness. You got limited time or money. You got to make the best choices, or you can make hybrid choices. Target 5 or 10, and then the rest of them are a hybrid, like direct mail with a phone call, that kind of thing. But definitely make sure you have a certain number that's a personal invitation, personal follow-up. Okay. Any questions about? So that starts in about 3 weeks, roughly. Roughly 3, 4 weeks. So you just want to market it. Get it going. Reminder. You know, if it was me, I would shoot for a minimum of 5. I would look at this and go, they're probably going to have 50% of the people who register not show up, especially if they don't order lunch, because that lunch, it's harder to back away when you know you're getting a free lunch and you've committed to the free lunch. It's harder to back away from that because you know you've put the guy out for money wise. You've made it inconvenient for him. So that's the power of the lunch. It's not just an incentive, but it's definitely an attraction to get them to watch the damn thing. And remember, even if they bail out at the last minute, because that'll happen, their paralegal will still watch it. They'll say, hey, watch that for me. Let me know how it was. That's kind of what they do, which is fine. Now you got your stair step from the paralegal. Now the paralegal will go off and go, man, that was great stuff. You need to watch it. See, that's how that works. So there you go. Mark, and what I would do is I'd target for a minimum of 5 up to 10 with the personalization approach. Expect 50% of them not to show up if they did not commit to the lunch. Okay. So get them committed to the lunch. How many are going to be there? What are their names? and then ask them what they want for lunch. Usually it's dark meat or white meat, chicken or roast meat, just 2 options. That's it. No more than 3. Don't let them go off anywhere else. And call whoever you're going to deal with. They already have, menus for catering. So just look, see what they have, and just don't offer them the whole menu. Just give them like 2 options, no more than 3. When I did seminars, there were 2 options. That was it. And you couldn't change it. It was one or the other. That's it. Because that gets to be you'll see that'll get to be a problem. But anyway, that's what you want to do. Book the lunch, calculate how much money you want to spend. The only cost it's going to cost you is the lunch. And shoot for 5 or 10, something like that. Expect 50% to not show up. And then if you don't want to go that route, then target one law group that maybe has 2 attorneys or 3 attorneys, or that gets like 10, 15, 20 cases a month. And same with your old attorneys. You definitely want to involve your old attorneys. Remember, you can never say all this stuff enough and over again. You can never say it enough, ever. They never will remember all this. They won't. So definitely invite your old attorneys, lock them up, get them the free lunch, and then try to add another 5 or 10. That's what I would do. And then if you had more on your list than the 5 or 10 high quality you want to go after, then I would probably do direct mail with a phone call with the remainder. That's how I would target it. That's how I'd look at it. And then, because remember, you got to follow up. When you're done, you've got to do the free case evaluation. So that's going to take a little time to get through that. So you can't sign up, like 10 attorneys or 20 attorneys or 30 attorneys, because you want to get through that free case evaluation within 2 weeks from the presentation, within 2 weeks. Because remember, time kills all deals. 50% motivation decreases every 48 hours. Okay, so any questions about this? So this is a big marketing event. This is a big personal injury attorney referral push. Big. You can increase your business, $250,000, $1 million just from this presentation and doing it right. Remember that when you're doing this. This is not Facebook pay-per-click. We are not talking about increasing your business $10,000. The one client we just had did 3 presentations. She got 20 referrals out of 3 presentations a month. That's over $1 million she got in 3 weeks from 3 presentations. Treat it like it should be treated. These are $1 million events when you do them right.